Yeah.
Right.
They'll message me if I'll be able to be heard or not. So.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along once more to the Cone Racing Academy. We are here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in the heart of Canada for round 3. If you are new to the Cone Racing Championship, this is our academy division that is running, where we have drivers of all abilities looking to hone their skills, whether they're new to league racing, adapting to wheels, or they just want a little bit more practice. This is what we offer them in this division. We do have a championship division that runs on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for the drivers going for their own championship. So this one's just that little bit different and all about practice. Delighted to say that this week I've got a co-commentator for the first time, so welcome along, Harvey. Welcome to the
Sam.
magical land of commentary.
Thank you. Yeah. Welcome to
the
the CRCA race.
CRAC, mate. CRAC, the Cone Racing Academy Championship. So a little bit of background about
community as well.
No, it's not community, it's championship. So a little bit of background for this race then. So as I've already mentioned, this is all about development. We allow assist, braking, racing lines, traction, all that. We want you to improve, and that's what these drivers are trying to do. All cars are running equal, all with obviously the same engine power as per standard to most leagues, and the drivers are only allowed to use the presets on offer, so that is the 5 options offered to them by the game. We do run a 25% race distance, and we also have reduced damage, because what's the point in crashing out on the first lap unless you absolutely smash it into the barriers. So here we go then. This is the short qualifying format that we run in this division. As I said, in the championship division we run it a little bit differently. That's a full qualifying and 50% race. This is short and 25%. So did you tune in last week, Harvey, when we were at Silverstone for CRA?
I did, and it's going to be really interesting to see who can compete with Christian Galan, who seems to be on top at the moment for the standings. He's putting in some really good performances, but I really want to see who can challenge him and put a stop to his amazing run.
Yeah, as you said there, he tops the drivers' standings coming into this race. In second place is M66, remember. So you mentioned there, obviously Christian is top of the town, and he has done really well these first 2 races. He run the alternate strategy in Britain last week, went on the mediums where everyone else started on the soft, started second on the grid, and went on to take that win. Unfortunately, the battle for the lead was with M66, who was our inaugural race winner here when we raced at Albert Park, but he got into a bit of trouble. There's just something about the McLarens and Silverstone that does not go together. So it'd be interesting to see whether them two can pick up from where they left off effectively. I said I'm riding on board with Christian now as he's on his front lap. He's opted for the hard tyres first time round, and we see the first times starting up there. Royal Viking quickly usurped by Crash at the top, but what can Christian manage? Remember, in this short qualifying format, it's any strategy that you wish. So we'll see softs, we see hards, we've seen mediums. It's all down to the drivers and what they like. So what if you were racing today, what sort of thing would you be going for in this race?
I think, being at short qualifying, I think starting the softs is probably the main strategy that I think a lot of the drivers today will be going for. But you never know, maybe some of them could find the pace on the mediums in qualifying, try and stretch them out through the race and have a really quick stint at the end on the soft compound. Yeah,
I said that was the strategy of choice for Christian last week. I I'm looking forward to seeing what the Racing Points can manage this week. I said they're quite unlucky last week. They did quite well. You can see Digweed there up to P2 already on those soft compounds, like you say. He's obviously opting for the different main strategy of the softs, but they were third and fourth on the grid. But unfortunately, they got caught up in the melee. What that was turn one, didn't even make it through Abbey before. Unfortunately, Pheasant Plucker coming off worst. He dropped right down the grid, but. Yeah, they look quite strong as a constructors team. Remember, we do run the constructors alongside the drivers. It's the first week that's come into play with what is close to a full grid. Unfortunately, we've got a few drivers away today though, so it's a first chance to really see some constructors going on. Whether anyone will do that going into the race. As we see, we've had 5 minutes of this session now then, and we've got half the drivers have set times. Currently M66, I said there, he was on pole for the last 2 weeks. I think might have been Christian last week, sorry, but he's up there already. 109.9. It's a very quick lap. He's got 6/10 off Dipweed. His teammate McConey in the McLaren, P3 on the second row. Newcomer Vegas in the Williams is fourth. Was Chris. I'm on board with Chris. He's just gone fastest in the first sector on those fresh soft tyres. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. I said we've already had 6 minutes of this session. And, where's your early money?
I think we do know. M66 is showing a lot of pace in Australia. Sorry, they got pole there, also managing to keep it cool and finish first as well. So yeah, I really would put my money on M66 if he can get pole. But also we did talk about Christian Galang, so we really need to keep an eye on him as well. So it should be interesting.
They are most definitely the two to watch. Otherwise, Chris, I've just gone on board with Chris. A very good lap from him. He's putting that run up into P3. He's just 3/10 back off Digweed, but M66 obviously still on that provisional pole with 12 minutes left of the session. So here's a test of knowledge for you, Harvey. What do you know about the circuit here in Canada? What tips and facts do you know?
I'm not a massive brainiac on this track, and I'm not massive on all other tracks, but you have to. I feel like this is a track where you have to really keep concentrated. There's a lot of close walls. It's really tight. You've got to keep those lines straight, and especially through the chicanes, if you lose concentration for a split second, you're in danger. And also that hairpin, brake too late, you lose a lot of time. So you've really got to find that point where you can just gain lots of times on the other drivers and compete with them.
Yeah, I said that the big thing, obviously, we've got, I think, 17 or 18 turns here. Oh, it's even less than that, I do apologise, it's 14 turns. And like I said there, the biggest sort of chances to overtake are obviously the two long straights, the hairpin you mentioned. That's a key one. If you get a good entry and exit onto that, you'll have a great run into the DRS zone when that obviously comes out in at the race. But so
looking forward to some overtakes towards the wall of champions. It'll be quite tricky for the drivers to go wheel to wheel there, so we can see what happens down there.
Yeah, I said I'm on board with Matt, so he's in the Ferraris coming across the line now. One of the four drivers yet to set a time, and he goes into P14 on a 1:28.2. So I think he's had a bit of a mistake there. I see McConey's out on the McConey's out on the medium tyres, and he's currently in P5. Did set a soft time, but he's opted for the mediums this time round. As he's just starting his fly. Then Selim, good showing for me. He's up to P3, then 110.6. But M66 still on top. Who's that? That's Pheasant Plucker that's just gone second. Yeah, he's just gone second. I did say, didn't I? Watch out for those two. Just a tenth between them at the front. As we see Vegas letting the McLaren of McConey through. I'm on board with the McLaren drivers who come up towards the second hairpins at turn 6 and 7. Oh, he's gone very wide though on that chicane. Surprised he's not actually invalidated that lap time there, but he's got away with it.
We've got Salim coming through. He's third in the driver's standings as well, so we can't not mention him. He'll be up there trying to fight for some good points today in this race.
I said Christian just gone up to P8, gone out for another hard run though, and he's only improved by 1, so he's 8th. So it'll be interesting to see. We've still got 2 drivers yet to set a time. That's MWS and Assault King. So Assault King is coming down the back straight now. He's just come out of the hairpin at turn 10. What sort of time can he set? His first race, as he missed last weekend. Oh no, he's done what a lot of drivers do. He's just taken a little bit too much of that first right-hander of the final chicane at turn 13, and he's invalidated his lap. So I mean, he's got time to come around and set another lap, but yeah, it's unfortunate for him. I see MWS is coming out now, turn 9, in the run up to the hairpin. I noticed with the hairpin you want to take a nice sort of wide line into it, kind of tight into the apex, and that allow you to run your car a little bit wide. Take a little bit of that left-hand curb. You see, I think if you touch a wheel on that, you're in prime position. Just keep your foot to the floor as you approach that final chicane in DRS, and the toe very big here is another thing that I think we need to mention down that back straight, even without DRS. Oh, as I see a Racing Point going very close. Oh no, the Racing Point's at the back. Yeah, I was just on board with MWS.
Down the incidents.
Oh no, and he's gone into the wall of champions. So MWS goes 14th, but I was on board with MWS, and it's come to, you can see the Racing Point had a massive speed as he came down that back straight, and he touched him coming out of the final chicane, and it spun the Racing Point into the wall. And I think you were on board with him. He just gone round in a circle.
Yeah, I was on Digweed. He was. I can't tell who was on the hot lap, but it seemed to MWS was it just didn't know that Digweed was there, from my perspective, or Digweed took a wrong line, so that'll be going down in instance, sure.
Yeah, MWS was on a hot lap, so he's just gone P14. That was a 1:13.7 from the Toro Rosso, so he's obviously managed to set a lap time now, so he doesn't have to worry too much. He obviously still wants to try and improve, because like you say, it is just sort of an extended pole position shootout, but it sorts the whole grid, and that's where you can see. I'm already seeing M66 looking to maybe fit the mediums for another run. Christian's looking at the mediums, but everyone else is on softs. So I mean, we can already see this short qualifying strategy seems to just be put the softs on.
Yeah, Digweed shouldn't be too affected by that. He's sat in a comfortable position in P3, so he may report it, but I really don't think it will change his qualifying session.
Yeah, I said it, possibly one for the stewards, but we didn't see a 5-place grid penalty to come up, so he'll be hopefully thankful for that. He does obviously have to put a new front wing on. I've just seen from on board that he has got no front wing after that contact and hitting the wall, of course. But I mean, if he stays in P3, then it might not be worth it. If you've got a 5-place grid, obviously it changes things, but
yeah,
that looks good. I think McConey's on an outlap now. Christian Galang's come back out on those medium compounds. He's currently just, I think it's 1.8 seconds the difference between him and M66, those two sort of front runners we've picked out. But remember, Christian set that time on the hards, he's now on the mediums. M66 set that time on the softs, he's come out on the mediums. So interesting to see whether M66 can improve, or Christian, well, I'd assume Christian will go faster than the harder tyres. He's just about to come around and start it now. He's come out the turn 14, then open that DRS as we come round then. So he's through the nice tight line through the first chicane. You want to open a little bit wider as you come out of turn 3, and then gives you a nice run into what is the sort of flick right-hander of turn 4. I remember the famous incident a few years ago, I think it's 2014, between the two Mauritius there, Chilton and Bianchi. Chilton getting a little bit out of shape, and he took out his teammate. I watched that race back a couple of days ago, and hopefully we don't see a lot of that today. But as we can see, it's M66 coming down the back straight now up towards, I think that's turn 8.
Oh, he touched the grass a bit there. That won't help his time.
Yeah. They come up. He's very deep though into that hairpin. I don't know. He's gone very, very deep.
It's got a lot to do in this last sector to make up the time.
Yeah. As we see Digweed back in the pits there. Chris has come out on an outlap. He's put a fresh set of softs on. You can see McConey's putting a fresh set of softs on. Selim about to set another lap on. Oh, he's touched the wall though. M66 has touched the wall.
Yeah. M66.
He's not gone fastest. He's 0.06 of a second slower than his faster time on the soft. So 4 minutes and 25.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
Christian Galang's gone second on the mediums.
Oh yeah, I can just see. Yeah, there you go. 4/10. So We said they'd be close, and they are close. What can Pheasant Plucker do? He's 56 hundredths down on his best time as he come up towards the hairpin of turn 10. Might get a bit of a toe from the Haas though on his exit. I mean, he's got a nice clean exit. The Haas pulls to the side. Sorry, that's a Renault of Chris. Yep. He's got another car in front of him, but they get out of the way as well. Royal Viking doing well to steer to the left. So I'm on board with Pheasant Plucker as we're coming down to the final chicane. Breaking about the 150 metre board. I know he's dived into the pits then, so he's obviously backed off that lap. He's got time probably for another time lap.
Yeah,
I expect definitely. if you're not out within the next minute and a half, then you're sort of going to struggle to get that car round and get a flying lap set. So we've got M66. You can see Christian Galang at the front row. The Racing Points once again at the moment occupying that second row. I think Liverpool fan's been a bit quiet. 1:10.8 puts him P7. Yeah. He's only a few hundredths and a few tenths off the cars ahead of him. And what about the?
I think Christian Galang will pit and end his session. He's in a good spot. P2 on the mediums, and M66 didn't manage to beat his time on the mediums. So I would probably put my money on Christian Galang at this point. He's on the probably the better strategy.
Matt spun it into the wall at the exit of turn 1. That will not do him any good. He can't really want to park his car there. He might get disqualified. That is a risk here at Canada if you do spin. Yeah. If you do spin here at Canada, it can cause very good problems. There you go. There's that Mercedes that you're on about. So just a shout out to a couple of newcomers. Obviously got Vegas and Murphy. I call him Murphy. His name's Murphy, but it's hard to. I do apologise to him for that, but they're currently 9th and 12th, so it's their first races. What do you make of them so far? I mean, have you been on board with them? What sort of?
Yeah, Vegas is quite impressive. He racing with him a couple of days ago, he made a couple of mistakes, but top 10, not bad. He's quite impressed me actually. I've been on board with a couple of them. Murphy's not that bad. He looks quite quick. He's going out for another lap, I think, here. Yeah, I'll be on board with him right now.
I'm on board with Murphy as well. He's just about to cross the line, so he's currently P12, and he stays P12, so he's a 10th down on his previous best. So 1 minute and 45 seconds there, if you can see in your top left hand of the screen. So that means if you're not out now, you will not be getting. You can see Assault King, the only driver yet to set a lap time. He will need to buck his ideas up. I'd assume Jeff will be in his ear roll saying you need to get that car around the track and set a lap time. GJB still in the pits. Liverpool fan and Selim in the pits. The Mercedes doesn't look like they're going to have enough time to set another lap. Christian Galang, you mentioned he might be in the pits.
Stays in the pit, yeah.
He's staying in the pits, so he won't have enough time. You need about 1 minute and 30 seconds roughly to get around the circuit before you can set a flyer, and that time is up. So who will be on pole position in the next minute? We shall see.
It's up to Pheasant Plucker and Digweed. Both of their Racing Points really kind of mess up Christian Galang's strategy here. They can definitely do it. They're only a couple hundreds within Christian Galang's time. So
well,
if
you say that, but Digweed's just pit. So Digweed has backed off his lap and he's in the pit.
It's up to Pheasant Plucker then.
Yeah, so I don't know. He seems to be on the early stages of his lap. He's invalidated those 2 tenths up for the first sector, but he has invalidated that lap. So unless he can get round in the next 30 seconds, which I don't think he can, he will start a maximum of P3. I think Christian Galang will be on the front row. We'll just obviously wait and see. We've got 30 seconds left of the session. A couple of drivers still on their laps. One of those is Chris, but he's 24 seconds down. He's not. He's 3 tenths up on his previous best in the first sector as we come through turns 5 and 6. Yellow flags in sector 2. I don't know what that's for. I think that's just calling it through.
Pheasant Plucker's backed off because even if he did complete his lap, he'd be running on degraded softs, and for the race he'd be on degraded softs, so it really wouldn't be looking good for him.
So we go then, the flag is down. You can see a few drivers already out. Christian Galang finished, Digweed and Selim finished. So it's Chris, can he improve on P6? He's got 2 drivers ahead of him, 3 in fact, that he is within a few tenths of as he's coming down in towards turn 13 and 14 now. I'm on board with the Renault driver. He's into the final. M66 goes fastest there. 109.3.
Really
There's 109.3 from M66. What about Chris? He goes 5th, so he splits Digweed and Selim a 110.4, so that's 4 tenths faster. But he's on, I can see him there, he's on 3 lap old soft, so he will have to pit earlier than those around him. Liverpool fan is P7. And we got a slight issue with Liverpool fan and that does not look good. So connection issue there for Liverpool fan. He's there, so we can already see pretty much all those drivers there. Assault King managing to get up to 4th with that lap time then, as he comes around the final corner, very, very slow through that last chicane. Opens that DRS and he comes across the line and stays in 14th. So it's just MWS left, but he's obviously run out of fuel. So we can see there for round 3 qualifying is complete, Harvey. M66 and Christian Galang take the front row. M66 in the McLaren, a 109.3 has him at the front of the grid. The racing points, just like last week, are 3rd and 4th on the second row. Chris in the Renault is 5. The 2 Mercedes 6 and 7. Marconi is P8. Royal Viking is 9, and on debut Murphy is P10. What are your thoughts then on that 18-minute session?
Yeah, I expected that Christian Galang are the better options higher. Well, he's the only one in the mediums, but M66, I feel like if he's going to want to keep that position, he's going to have an amazing start, and he's going to have to create some sort of gap so that Christian Galang can't come back on him towards the end of the race.
Yeah. So it's a 25% race, as we've mentioned before. So what that means is going to be about 17 or 18 laps, I think, here around Canada. I'm not too sure on that, but obviously your mandatory 1 stop, unless it's wet. I don't think it's going to be wet. I haven't heard anything to suggest it's going to be wet, as we see there just a race director showing that it is indeed M66 on pole. But as you mentioned, Christian Galang on that alternate strategy, he might be able to stretch those mediums for about 9 or 10 laps, maybe even a little bit later than that, and then sort of go on to the softs, be faster at the end, whereas M66 will be a few laps earlier into the pit lane than Christian Galang. Nice to see Liverpool fans back in the session. That's good for his point of view. So he is currently P7 behind his teammate, but it's nice to see how close it is as well. I mean, M66 in the 109s are full second clear, but looking down the rest of the grid, it's what we want to see here. It's competitive, and it's all drivers learning and experiencing what it's like to be in league races.
Yeah, these drivers, this is the Academy League, so it is really good to see them battling close together.
I said we had a bit of a mini session earlier. You were part of that and I was part of that, and we had a sort of mix. We had a few drivers looking to come into the academy. We had a few academy drivers, and we also had a few of our sort of elite, I don't want to call it an elite division because there's not that much of a gap, but our sort of top tier division. And it was nice to see there was a mix of positions and racing amongst all of them, which is what we want to see. And here at Cone, it's what we've sort of set up going into 2020, what we want to do. So
yeah, I talked about it before. It'd be really nice to see, especially with the F1 2020 coming out towards the start of July. Really cool. Would be cool to see some of the drivers from the Academy League improving and just learning from this league and maybe being promoted into the top league, so we can see which drivers will maybe not be able to handle the pressure of the new game, maybe in the league, the main league, and maybe get demoted and swap with someone who's doing really well in the academy who will get promoted.
Yeah, there's
away with a formation lap.
Yeah, so this is obviously, you can see there 18 laps in this Grand Prix. The formation lap, all about getting the heat into your tyres, getting your brakes warmed up, so effectively you're not caught cold, I should say, at the first corner. It's sort of a nice short race to the first corner, one of 14 corners, but you just got to make sure you don't outbrake yourself. You sort of got to watch the car in front
contacts, of you. MWS and Assault King, I think. Yeah, they're going to be reset to the track.
Oh dear,
yeah,
so.
Just MWS.
Yeah, so unfortunately that is the perils that you face in the formation lap. If you do make contact, you will be sent back to the grid and you will not be able to warm up the tyres like everybody else. So just
JJB on mediums.
Oh, so yeah, obviously outside top 10 he's opted for that alternate strategy as well then. So just a reminder then, as we come round turn 10 and almost finish this formation up, it's M66 has taken pole position. He was almost a second faster than Christian Galang, but remember, Christian Galang is starting on those alternate strategy with the yellow compound tyres of the mediums. The two racing points, exactly like last week, round out the second row. Watch from them from the start. Chris again in fifth. He was fifth last week, so a little bit of a syncrasy going on there across the things, but It's what we like to see. Watch out for the two Mercedes then. Selim and Liverpool fan, McConey, Royal Viking, Murphy and Vegas, both on debut in Williams. They're 10th and 11th. Crash, D-Morts, Assault King, MWS, GGB, and then we've got Matt at the back of the grid. A little bit unfortunate for Matt. He did spin in qualifying. So here we go then as we come round to the start-finish line for this Grand Prix. Round 3 of the Cone Academy Racing Championship.
Here we go.
Go then, we wait for the lights. Here they are then. We've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, we've got 5 red lights, and we are then racing here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. It's a great start from your pole sitter. He is managing to block off Christian, but look for the racing point of Fengen. We've got in down the outside of Christian Galang, and he's managed to get through. We've got yellow flags at the back. I think that's Royal Viking that has spun according to the timesheet, but what a start from Pheasant Plucker. He's up into P2 then. Chris Panda up to P4. The other racing point of Digweed dropping back. He's the biggest loser from that first corner, and we've got Selim Kafafi. He's lost a few places. Oh, see there, Mercedes going round.
Oh, Vegas goes.
Oh, and there's a Toro Rosso, and there's a few different. Oh, and there's Panda mode.
Oh, there's a massive crash. Retirement.
Who's that? Vegas is out. Who is that as well?
MWS. Vegas is gone.
Oh no, poor Vegas. So I said it all sort of started as we got a safety car after just a few corners, and how unfortunate for Vegas. So well to qualify in 11th on debut, but unfortunately he is out of this Grand Prix. I don't know what you saw, but I saw Selim coming a bit wide coming out of turn 5, and he sort of lost it on the rears, spun, and he just collected a few cars. There's not really anywhere you can go in Canada. Oh, there's contact in under the safety car period. I see the Renault there and the GJB, sorry, in the Renault making contact with Assault King and Royal Viking. A little bit of a mismatch going on at the back there. Maybe I see the Red Bull missing a bit of his front wing then. But,
yeah, so unlucky for Vegas. Made up 6 positions at the start and lost it on the straight, and I think that's what caused the main collision. I saw a Toro Rosso ram into his side pod. Oh, there's contact. MWS and Royal Viking. He sent Royal Viking gone round. 5-second penalty for MWS.
So Royal Viking then caught out, and he is on the start-finish line. I don't know if he's got damage. We see quite a few drivers opting to
loads
pit.
In the pits.
Quite a few
on the mediums.
Yeah, I did say, I don't know what you saw, but on my screen what I saw was Selim coming out of turn 5. He lost his rears. He did spin, touched into the barrier, but being at such an enclosed circuit, he just sort of come across the track, and there wasn't really anywhere for anyone to go. Travelling at speeds of about 180, 190 miles an hour. And unfortunately Vegas caught out. You could see on the stream that I think it was MWS in the Toro Rosso just collected him when he was sideways, and unfortunately he is out of this Grand Prix. Might be one for the stewards to look at later, but honestly from my there wasn't a lot that anyone could do in that situation. Cars all over the place. You've already seen the amount of drivers that have pitted, I think from 10th down to 16th, so 6 drivers in the pit lane. Matt's opted for the harder tyres. He's going to go to the end by the looks of things.
Yeah, I'll try to get the end.
The other drivers going for the mediums. They might be able to get those for 15 or 16 laps, but
JJV, he'll be sitting happy for this. He's made up 8 positions from the start, avoided all the contact, and he is on the medium tyre, so it'll be really interesting to see what he can do. He can stretch those tyres as far as he can now, possibly go on the soft towards the end of the race. 8 positions.
Yeah, I said so. To lap 3, we're about to start off this Grand Prix. The safety car currently out here. Unfortunate incident saw Vegas out of this Grand Prix after just a few corners. He was in amongst the carnage that unfortunately was caused by a spinning Mercedes of Selim's. Royal Viking pits then, so unable to pit last that because of that contact with MWS. He's in the pit lane, but what a start from the racing point of Pheasant Plucker. So M66 still leads, but Pheasant Plucker making that move around the outside of turns 2 and 3. He's moved up into second. Christian on the alternate strategy is in P3. Digweed back up to P4. McConey in 5th, and Liverpool fan in 6th. And then of the last 2 non-pitting cars, you've got Murphy up from P10, and GJB, as you mentioned there, made 8 places. He sits in P8. His teammate just behind.
It's exactly what Christian Galang did not want from the start. He needed to be within M66. Pheasant Plucker making a great start, and that's really helped with M66. He can push as hard as he wants, create that gap, and Christian will not be happy with that.
One thing I will say though is, I mean, you're right in the sense that Christian obviously a bit unfortunate with Pheasant Plucker, but I mean, we can't take anything away from the racing point driver making that move around the outside. Any driver would be proud of that. As we see the safety cars coming in this lap. But for Christian Galang, just like the other drivers, it kind of helps his strategy. Obviously, he was able to take those mediums out longer anyways. Royal Viking and Crash Gaming are given 5-second penalties, so there's contact they've made at the back of this little snake. But it means you can push those mediums a little bit longer. Obviously 2 or 3 laps under the safety car means less tyre wear, less fuel use, etc. So he can maybe pit a few laps later and run like 3 or 4 laps on the softs and just absolutely push them to the sort of limit where you might have to nurse them for 5 or 6 laps as we wait to see where McConey puts the foot to the floor as he comes around then through the wall of champions. He puts his foot down and we're back racing here at the circuits of Gilles Villeneuve. MD given another 5-second penalty. What a restart that was from the McLaren driver. He's pulled a second already from Pheasant Plucker, but Christian, you can see all over the back of that racing point on those medium tyres. Remember, no DRS until lap 6. 2 laps after the safety car till that comes back out, as we see Chris up the inside of GJB at the back of the pack. I think that's coming out of turn 3. He's gained a place then. His teammate obviously not pitting, he did, so that'll be good for him. As we see Assault King looking over the back of GJB now as they come through the chicane of turn 6 and 7. And so this will be
on board with Salim and D-Morts. He's right on the back of D-Morts. Salim, he really wants to get these positions back that he lost from the first lap of this race.
I said we got a glimpse at D-Mort's setup earlier on today. He's got his lovely wheel setup. I was quite jealous of his flat screen TV that he's got. I imagine racing on that, quite a beauty that is. So the gap at the front I've already seen is 1.5 seconds now between M66 and Pheasant Plucker. The McLaren driver really pushing those softs as fast as he can. But it's a little bit wide though from Pheasant Plucker on the end. Christian Galang dives into the slipstream. But again, no DRS lap.
Christian.
Yeah, fast lap. So 3/10 is that gap. What about Digweed? He's starting to fade away a little bit from this lead group. He's 2 seconds back. But remember, lap 5 of 18, we'll start to see a few drivers come in from the top on those soft tyres. I would guesstimate maybe lap 7 or 8, and then that gives you 10 or so laps on those medium compounds that should take you to the end. As Christian Galang's given a time penalty,
3-second penalty. That is not good.
So that will cost him. He will need to push a little bit harder now on those mediums to make sure he got that. As I'm seeing Assault King's up down past GJB, then he's made a move coming out of turn 7. We've got yellow flags in sector 2. Who's that for? As we see, I'm on board with MWS.
Assault King goes on the inside. Oh, contact, he spun.
Who spun?
Oh, contact with D-Morts. JJB's avoided it, but we've got some contact with
D-Morts
well. And JJ.
We've got yellow flags. Just about caught the end of that. I saw. Oh no, they're going too wide into. Oh no! Oh my word!
Be massive crashes.
D-Morts has just absolutely clipped Royal Viking. Oh my word! The Haas driver is given a drive-through penalty. Then DRS enabled as M66 crosses the line.
Yeah, I think MWS has got wing damage as well. Yeah, he's boxing.
So D-Morts opting to stay out. Then he's got. I know he's not. Sorry. Yeah, he's got severe wing damage. He'll need to pit, but he needs to pit again because of that wing damage. So Matt almost caught up, and he had to brake very heavily into turn 10. As a Assault, he's given a 3-second time penalty. Then he's chasing down the Renault of GJB.
Yeah, D-Morts is getting a wing change as well.
Yeah, I said he was. I just about caught his ear, but it was very, very fast on the approach to turn 10, and he just didn't catch his braking point, went straight into the back of the Alfa Romeo, spun Royal Vikings, got a drive-through penalty for that collision. As on board with Pheasant Plucker and Christian Galang, the gap is 0.5 of a second, and Christian will have DRS for the first time this race as he comes down towards the chicane of 13 for them, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough. He's run out of ERS on the approach. He pulls to the right-hand side, looks like he's got the move done. Pheasant Plucker backing out a little bit on the braking, but he's got a much better exit, but he does lose it a little bit. And Liverpool fan has got past McConey, so he's taken, but he's very, very wide on the exit. Camera angle's a bit deceiving here.
Contact.
So Chris has DRS on McConey. He's going to make a move into turn 1. He thinks better of it and pulls back. I've seen a bit of front wing on the corner there at turn 3. Pheasant Pluck is given a 3-second time penalty then, so he has got one just like Christian, but the gap at the front is now 2.5 seconds. So M66 on no 6-lap old softs will need to start pushing now for his pit stop. Remember, Christian can go that little bit further being on those medium compounds.
Yeah, this is where Christian will dominate. This is where he has to try and close this gap up, but also M66. I'll be sure these tyres are starting to degrade, so yeah, he's going to need to push now before he's in lap to the pits.
Yeah, I said these front 3 are pulling away from the rest of the pack. The gap to Digweed in 4th is 4.2 seconds. Remember, they obviously still need to pit up. Be interested to see what sort of laps they both pit, being in the same team and being so close together on track. Liverpool fan doing well. He's within 2 seconds of Digweed as M66 comes around to start lap 8 of this Grand Prix. Losing the rear a little bit. So who's that in the pits? That's Pheasant Plucker. So I did say about strategy, and Pheasant Plucker dives into the pit. So the first soft runner pits on lap 7 and starts lap 8 with a fresh set of tyres. McConey's then given a 3-second time penalty. Who else is in the pits? That's McConey in the pits. It's Murphy in the pits.
Oh, he changed wing. Oh, he had wing damage. Pheasant Plucker. That won't help him out.
So the gap around 2 seconds. I'll ride on board with Christian as he comes through turns 6 and 7. He's got 1.8 this second. Yeah, so he is closing on that McLaren driver. Remember, he doesn't have DRS. He's not within that second barrier, but this is where those soft tyres of the McLaren will start to go off, and he will be looking to capitalise. He's got that 3-second time penalty though, so he needs to really put his foot to the floor when the McLaren does pit. A little bit wide though on the exit.
I feel like he might pit here, you know.
Yeah, we shall see. Digweed then coming through the hairpin. Then who's that? That's Chris making a move on the inside, but he's gone very, very wide at the hair. Oh, he's clipped the wall. So be interested to see if he's got front wing damage. We've got yellow flags out once more. I think that's Royal Viking.
M66 in.
So M66, the race leader, has pitted. I'm on board with Royal Viking, who has spun it coming out of turn 11. VSC. It's a VSC. So yes, I did say Royal Viking spun it. He's lost his front wing coming out of turn 9. He will need to pit, but it is the VSC, remember. So we see M66 is in, Digweed is in, and Liverpool fan all in. Putting those medium compound tyres on. They will take them to the end of the race, but it's whether they can get there. So M66 comes out in 3rd place. The gap between him and Christian is about 11 seconds. I don't think that's enough time for Christian to come ahead after his pit stop, but remember, he will have those softer compounds which will be faster around this track. DRS comes back on as the VSC is away. Christian Galang leads this race from Chris, VK Panda and M66, who is pitted and put those fresh mediums on. Chris and Christian still yet to pit, but Chris pitted very early on after contact, so can he get those mediums to the end? We shall see. Selim up to P4 and Digweed in P5.
M66 will be thanking the FIA. As soon as he dived in the pits, the VSE was deployed, so that's worked out really nicely for him.
Yeah, we can see a little bit languishing at the back there. A few of the drivers, unfortunately, Mort's obviously got that drive-through penalty that he, I think, will serve in the next lap or so. Royal Viking spun out by Mort, then hits the wall coming out of turn 9. GJB.
GJB's on board with GJB and Royal Viking. Lots of contact there. I think GJB lost it a bit, and Royal Viking had nowhere to go to avoid it. But the fighting coming into the chicane here.
Jesus, yeah. Well, M66 has just overtaken Chris. Sorry to interrupt, but M66 is through on turn 1. He used that DRS, got down the inside of the Renault, moves up to P2. The gap between him and Christian, 11.1 seconds in on lap 10 of 18. Here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve for round 3 of the Cone Racing Academy Championship. Christian Galang, your championship leader, leads by 11 seconds. He's yet to pit, remember, though. He needs to fit the soft compound tyres. So we see Royal Viking and GTB fighting out at the back there, both pitting for a fresh set of softs.
Yeah, it was crucial for M66 to overtake Chris, just so he has some free air to push into it, try and catch up a little bit of a gap to Christian Galang. And Christian Galang pits now.
So the race leader,
laps on the softs.
The race leader is into the pits, and M66 comes round into the final corner. He will take the lead of this race, but remember, you can see on the left timing graphics that Christian Galang has 8 laps to catch him on that softer compound. Oh, as I see the Mercedes of Selim going a little bit wide out the exit of turn 14 as M66 sets the fastest lap of the race as well. So Christian Galang, where does he come out? He's out into P4. So he gets out ahead of the 2 racing points of Digweed and Pheasant Plucker. He now has to overtake both Selim and Chris and then catch M66. The gap though is only about 6 seconds, which I think is doable in this. We see there's a McLaren round. I think that's McConey round at turn 1. Yes, he is. He's wide on the exit of the corner. That will not do those tyres any good. So here we go then, as you see Matt Warner coming around the outside. He overtakes and moves up into P11. He will be hunting his first points of the season. His teammate Christian Galang in P4 then. Already your most points gathered so far. If I can get my words out. He's right on the back of Selim though now. The gap just 1/10 of a second. He pulls to the right hand side out of DRS and Christian Galang is through then. He moves up into P3. Can he get it through this corner? Yes, he can. So Chris is his next target. The gap between them 3 seconds. M66 sets the fast up of the race.
Flying.
But Christian Galang, I think, no, he's not got the fastest lap. He's gone fastest in sector 3, but he's still not faster than M66. So watch out for that gap as we go further down the grid. Crash Gaming is in P7 and Liverpool Fan in P8. A few connection issues for him. Murphy on debut in P9. The Williams driver having a comfortable race down there. As Digweed's given a 3-second time penalty. McConey gets back past the Ferrari of Matlin in the DRS. He takes back P11. 6 seconds between him and a point. But Assault King is in the pit lane. So McConey moves into the final points paying position for this race. We're on lap 12 of 18 here in Canada. On board with Pheasant Plucker as he looks down the inside of Selim, but he's not got a move done this time. A little bit too far back. Yeah, as you can see, a little bit wide.
He might send one down the inside here, or down the outside.
Oh, Selim moves across, but he's a little bit of a tap. Little bit of a tap, the elbows out, but he runs wide, so that allows Selim to pull. Remember, these will both have DRS down this straight. As you can see, just there, Digweed in front of them. Oh, it's a drag race now to the front. I think, as you said, Selim has got through, so Selim retakes P5. M66, as you said, flying
again
on those mediums, goes fastest once more. 1:12.5 from Galang, but Chris is past him through the DRS, so Christian Galang suffering a calamity in being overtaken, but M66 is given a time penalty, so your race leader joins him, and that puts him level with Christian for time penalties. So just 5 laps remain then. Your leader M66, Chris up into P2. Christian Galang is P3, Digweed in 4th. Or as Pheasant Plucker makes a move on the outside of turn 7. Nice little move into the DRS zone past Selim. That drops the Mercedes driver down to P6. Crash and Liverpool 7th and 8th. Murphy and McConey round out the points. See Assault King is given a 3-second time.
The race is on. Christian Galang's right on the back of Chris right now. Here, I think he will get DRS.
You can see the massive amount of overspeed you gain from this long straight here at Canada. Is he going to make a move into the braking zone? Looks like he will. Oh! He gets another penalty. Yeah, so another 3-second time penalty for the Ferrari driver, but a much better exit allows him to pull past. But look at that, M66 absolutely flying, 1:12.1.
Yeah.
And the gap now 5 seconds to the front. So this battling with Chris is costing Christian dearly. Remember, he's got an extra 3 seconds worth of penalties compared to M66. We've got yellow flags in sector 3. I think that's from Liverpool Fan. I think he's spun it. He's spun it at the World of Champions, and he is around. He's lost that front wing. You can see missing the front wing end plates. He will have to pit this lap. Massive amount of damage to the front of that Mercedes.
So Matt Warner, 6 places up from the start. He pitted for those hard tyres. He'll be able to go to the end as well. 5 laps remaining, making up 6 positions.
Yeah, so we can see currently your race leader then 5 seconds at that thing. That's the closest battle we want to probably got in this race. Remember, Christian started on the alternate strategy. That's why he's on the softs. M66 is on the mediums. You can see just in the background of the screen there is the Ferrari and the Renault, and there's Liverpool Fan going around again, I think, losing it coming out of turn 7, struggling for a bit of downforce with that front wing.
M66 wasn't able to keep up the pace with his last lap. He lost about 7/10 from his previous lap.
But the gap, though, is still 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, Christian's not able to catch up. You have to remember his tyres will degrade faster, so he really had to push from when he started putting on the soft compound, but he did get caught up behind Chris, so that must have slowed him down.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see already there's a 2-second gap now between Chris and Christian, but looking at the tyre data, 13 laps. I mean, Chris did pit on the first lap of this race. He had a bit of contact, unfortunately, involved in the incident with Vegas. He was one of the cars that got caught up and had to replace his wing. You see Matt moves up into the final points playing position then. But he's done 13 laps on those mediums. He can get them to the end, but you can just see, I mean, on my screen, the racing points are not far behind. 2 seconds, the gap between him and Digweed, and Pheasant Plucker's only a further second back. So whether they can make any moves in the final 2 laps of this Grand Prix as we jump on board with the race leader then as he comes across the start finish line. Lap 16 of 18 here, round 3 of the CRAC. 16 of these 17 drivers still running. Vegas, unfortunate casualty on lap 1 as we've already mentioned. But this McLaren is absolutely flying. Christian's pulled out about 6, get close by about 6/10, but fastest sector 1 from M66 once more. Got yellow flags in sector 1 again. Who's that? That's Pheasant Plucker. So Pheasant Plucker's gone round and will need a new front wing. The Racing Point has lost it coming out of turn 3, hit the wall, and that has pushed Selim up into P5.
Yeah, Racing Point, we're going to have quite a handful of points, but unfortunately Pheasant Plucker's is going to have to go in the pits now with that wing damage, it looks like. Yeah, he's got a lot of damage on that front wing.
So I'm back on board with M66, and he's pulled out another 6/10 in that second sector. So those medium tyres really coming into play. Then the softer tyres of Christian look like they are sort of starting to fade away and degrade. But Chris is dropping back ever further. That's put Digweed almost within a second. He's going to have a run, I think, on Chris in this sort of penultimate lap to challenge for that final podium position. Digweed been a bit unfortunate in the last couple of races. He quite up in contact and has cost him in the race after a good qualifying, but he started P4 in this race. He's got a chance to finish in P3. I think he won't drop back unless anything major happens, but we should see he's pushing right up. He's now within a second of the Renault, so I'll stay on board with these as they come through turn 5 and 6. As we see back
DRS.
Yeah. So as we come out of turn 7 then,
he's not taking that corner as well as he would have liked, so I don't know.
How close is he going to be through 8 and 9? Can he force a mistake from the Renault? He's right on the back of him as they approach the hairpin of turn 10, then on board with the Racing Point of Digweed. Is he going to look down the inside? No, he thinks better of it. He knows and can see that Chris is obviously slower out of these corners. He's got a good run on the exit with the DRS, but Chris is pulling away well. He's faster out of the corner, but already the DRS comes into play. He pulls to the left, but I don't actually think he's going to be close enough. So lap 18 of 18, the final lap. Digweed takes a massive dive bomb.
And that will not be...
That's a 3-second time penalty for the Racing Point driver there, though. He's got the move done, but unfortunately just a little bit too much of the track was missed, and he has been given a 3-second time penalty. So where will that fit in? Will he be able to pull a 3-second gap and secure that podium? We shall see. Maybe one for the stewards to look at as well. There are obviously rules about you can't make an illegal overtake by going off the track, but the gap now 5.5 seconds. So M66, what a brilliant race this has been from him. He's not really been focused much, but he started on pole position, got ahead after the sort of first early stages, after a great safety car restart, and he's never looked back.
No, that's all he needed, just a great pull away from the start, and even if he did have a safety car, just to get a really good start from that, and that's exactly what he's done. You know, he did exactly what he needed to do, and he's made the gap, and you could argue he maybe got a bit fortunate with the VSC when he was in the pits, but I think he's driven an excellent race today.
But here we go then, he crosses the line and M66 takes the victory here at round 3 in the CRAC. He wins in Canada. Christian Glang comes across in second. The eventual gap 8 seconds with those time penalties. Who will take P3? It's close across the line. Digweed crosses first. but with time penalties, Chris is P4. So Chris has done well, 17 laps on those medium tyres. He finishes a very, very sixth fourth. Selim crosses the line in 5th. What about Pheasant Plucker? Him and Crash are fighting for P6.
Crash Game's gone for it.
But he runs wide though. So Pheasant Plucker opting not to pit. He loses a lot of downforce. He will come across the line behind Crash and finish in P7. What about Murphy? He finishes in P7. Those time penalties then costing Pheasant Plucker. As we look now on board with the McLaren of Makoni, his teammate won the race. He comes across the line and will finish in P9. There you go. And we just await then for the final points playing position. It looks like it's a fight between Royal Viking and Liverpool Fan. Liverpool Fan was doing well, but unfortunately spun it, because if you're saying Royal Viking's given a 3-second time penalty then. So where did the penalties put these two drivers? Royal Viking crossed the line first, but is overtaken by Liverpool Fan at those things, so finishes 2 seconds back. Liverpool Fan takes the final points on offer here at Canada. What are your thoughts on that race then, Harvey?
That was an excellent race. Everything was quite chaotic. It was hard to keep up with, but yeah, I think there's quite a lot of incidents that the stewards will have to take a look at, especially that last corner between Digweed and Chris. I really think they'll take a look at that. I don't think it was a legitimate overtake from Digweed, so Chris will not be happy with that, and I'm sure he will be reporting it.
Yeah, I said there was given a 3-second time penalty there, but that may be one for the stewards. It depends whether it gets reported or not. That's the way it works. We run a stewarding team alongside this for those incidents to be looked at. But yeah, as you said, it was a very chaotic race at the start, but I mean, you can't look past M60. It was a quite brilliant drive, led pretty much from start to finish, only behind once he had pitted, but he made that sort of strategy work for him, and he's taking his 2nd win of the season, so he leads the championship now.
Yeah, back first in the championship. That's what he needed to do. Yeah, so the story continues.
Yeah. So but once again, the top two, as we mentioned at the start of the race and start of qualifying, M66 and Christian, the two runaway leaders, they finished 14 seconds ahead of Digweed in the end. He takes the first podium for Racing Point, and Chris, quite brilliant drive in P4. Who's your driver of the day?
A couple of mentions. Got Crash Gaming, made up 6 positions. I'd probably give it to Crash. I think Crash Gaming for the positions, but I might have to say M66 just because of the confidence in the strategy and not being like the gap and how well he pulled away from the safety car. He did everything he needed to do, and he did it. So
yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. My driver of the day vote does go to M66. As I said, I've given him plaudits already. He led the race pretty much from start to finish, and it was just quite a supreme drive to pull away from Christian, his closest rival, in the end. And so I think he takes the lead in the championship. But I might not be too sure. It depends. I think he finished second. I think he finished second in Silverstone. If he did, he then leads. If not, it will obviously close the gap to Christian by that sort of 5 points. So there we have it. Round 3 here at Canada, done and dusted. Thank you, Harvey, for joining me here in the commentary box. Well. Hopefully you'll be back next week. I certainly will be back next week when we'll be for round 4 of this championship, and we hope you will tune in and watch us then. Remember to follow my Twitch channel for all the races here. They will be also uploaded to YouTube. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week.